What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dave's Daily Dives, where, you guessed it, I dive into the charts of the day, give you some key levels of support and resistance for the major market indices, and then, not to leave you hanging, I give you 5 Zacks Rank #1 strong buy stocks that are breaking out to new highs. So these Zacks Rank #1 strong buy stocks means they have estimate revisions from analysts pushing in the positive direction. So the analyst community out there is saying these guys are going to make more money in the future, and that's what we look for. So those are all Zacks Rank #1 strong buys, and then I find ones that are just running away to the upside. So we've got a bunch to talk about, 5 really. But first, let's go ahead and get in here on my S&P 500 chart, and we're working on the same fib. May lows, June highs. Don't want to sound like a broken record. Still have that target 24.92 rather, and then obviously these June highs are support should the market come down there. Now we've been in a little bit of a choppy sort of holding pattern here. That's really to be expected during earnings season, because for every good report there's a bad report. For every bad report there's a good report, and they chop sideways. And then you got these, stocks coming out, or companies coming out rather, that have decent earnings for this quarter or even record earnings, but then the guidance isn't so good. So that's why you get a lot of choppiness in earnings season, especially early on. But we're getting a little bit into it now. It's going to start dying down here pretty soon. So I think the market's going to find a direction and stick with it. Now the question is, which way do we go? So anyway, so that sort of 24.54 level, keep an eye on. And then the 50-day down at 24.40 is another level for you to look for on the S&P 500. Now what everybody likes talking about is the Nasdaq. And this has been very interesting lately. Same fib time frame really. And then again, you have the extension. We came and basically ticked that, and now we've come down a little bit. And if you notice, the Nasdaq is really flirting with this level, the sort of 63.40s. And we've dipped the wick a couple times, but haven't really closed harsh below it. I think if that happens, then for sure we're getting to this 23.6 again. But also the 50-day moving average at 62.53. So it's not that far off. We do still have, if I zoomed out a little bit here, you guys can see some very nice trend line support, going back to, how far do you go? November, the election. But I think that's kind of a soft trend line there. I think the 50-day provides much more perspective. And then again, we've got that good old rope-a-dope I was talking about before, sort of stop grabber pattern where they come in and get it, and then before it moves higher. But now we're on this perch right here, but the market really hasn't had conviction to either side to break out to one way or the other. So we're just kind of stuck in the middle, seeing what's happening out there. Another thing I wanted to touch on real briefly, if I can pull this up, is crude. There's been a downward trend channel in crude basically since February, and recently we've come up to the top of this level. Now, I was kind of hoping for a breakout to the upside. I was telling my readers I wanted to get maybe in some oil stocks should this continue there. It doesn't look like it's happening. We're stalling out a little bit here. So there's 2 things I think that will either happen. Either we're going to continue along this trend line, kind of like we saw, or this downward trend channel, kind of like we saw in the dollar-yen before it chops up, or eventually this just gives up and we reject it, and then we're coming back down to the lows. So just something to keep an eye on. If you're talking about crude, you got these highs. I think this is about 50-50, somewhere around there. We've been inside this candle for a few days. If it breaks this low, I think we're going to be in for some more downside. So let me give you exactly what that low is. We're looking at 48.37. So keep an eye on 48.37 on crude, because that could mean much more downside. All right, now let's look at some stocks. CAI International, ticker, well, CAI. They didn't have to be too creative on that one. And here you can see lots of positive momentum. You don't have to be a rocket scientist with this one. It's just moving from bottom left to top right, and it keeps on trucking, pun intended. So pretty good stock. Lots of positive estimate revisions that are helping this. The 50 days all the way down at 23.25. So this is something you can play a breakout from this level. And really you just want your stops down near the 50-day. That may be a little further than you want. Maybe you want to wait a little bit if you're not already in this one, or play the breakout from the top of this candle. That's CAI International, ticker, again, CAI. Then we've got Columbus McKinnon, ticker CMCO. And this is really just a big spike up recently, breaking through these previous resistance levels. Nice move there. And you see the last time it really went vertical was just before the election through early, really the first week of December, when the stock goes from 16.5 all the way to 28. Huge move. So perhaps it's on the verge of something similar right here with a lot of strength in this name. Columbus McKinnon, ticker CMCO. Then we've got Fortis, ticker FTS. This is really a move that started here in April or May. Broke above this 50-day with conviction. Challenged it, came down, boom, and then it really happened. Retested it. The bid still came in. So these guys have been moving quite a bit higher. I think what you can do is you can use this sort of shelf, maybe 35 as a stop area. Maybe even all the way to the 50-day moving average if you want to wait. So you can buy this breakout, you can chase it a little bit, or just wait, because right now the commodity channel index is overbought. One continuation pattern I like to play is this CCI getting back to the zero line, and then I'll buy a bounce from it there. So you can be a little bit patient, maybe get a better entry on Fortis, ticker FTS. Then we've got LGIH, that's LGI Homes. And again, you got this consolidation range that it was in for a long time, and then something clicked, and since June these guys have been in fuego. So you might again want to wait a little bit for this to cool down, or if you want to be brave and chase this breakout, you can use this swing low of 43 as a stop loss. So you can come down underneath maybe to 42, or just about a 10% stop loss on this. You can chase the breakout, but it's not for the faint of heart. As we see, it's definitely overbought with the commodity channel index. But something that should give you some solace here is the fact that the shaken money flows crossed over the zero line in early May and have not looked back. So that implies there's been some serious accumulation in the stock. That's ticker LGIH. And the last one I got for you here is SK Telecom, ticker SKM. It's been a little bit rocky, right? This one sort of is wavy, so to speak. So I think the way to play this stock in particular is you see all these spikes in the CCI, lots of signals being given, crossing over, crossing under, crossing under, crossing over. I think you want to wait a little bit on this one, allow this to reel itself in a little bit, then you can go ahead and buy this. So I'd wait for this to roll over a little bit, keep it on your radar, the commodity channel index all the way up at 100, and you see how often that it comes back down once it's at these elevated levels. So it has a tendency to give you a chance to go ahead and buy. So you may not want to chase it, just wait for it to come back, but keep it on your radar. SK Telecom, ticker SKM. That's all I got for you folks here today. Why don't you check me out on Twitter at Bartosiastics. That's at BARTOSIASTICS for all the fun stuff with Dave's Daily Dives, and of course on Zacks.com as the head honcho, okay, so the editor of the Momentum Trader and the Home Run Investor. Have a great night. I'll talk to you guys next week.